Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa.
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. All right, welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is Thursday, and that means it is time for the OG Hour. Patrick Allen here with you, joined by Sports Illustrated's Matt Verderame. Verderame, how much food did you eat on Thanksgiving?
A lot of food. I think two plates, and then I went back and got more dessert than anybody should ever have. So enough that it was able to carry me through what the Dolphins did on Thursday night.
Yeah. Ugly scene. And then you got all kinds of crazy things happening in the NFL. You got Jameis Winston throwing for almost 500 yards. I'll tell you what, Browns fans got the full Jameis Winston experience.
Yes, they did.
I have to say, though, I was a bit surprised. Denver's defense has been so good all year, and I know Jameis likes to sling it, but do you feel like this is the time of year and we're seeing changes with the Chiefs right now? And yes, there have been injuries, but beginning half of the year, defense still very good, struggling the last few weeks. In all your years covering the NFL, do you feel like this is something that happens? You get to around Thanksgiving, what you've been doing, the book's out on you, weaknesses, teams start to attack you in a certain way, and then you have to adjust, and the teams that can adjust do, and the ones that suck can't. Is that what's happening? Is that why we're seeing some variance right now?
Yeah, I think with Denver, that just look, Riley Moss was out, and Winston is like a human roulette wheel. Just every play, you have no idea what's going to happen. Anything's possible. Everything's possible. But yeah, I mean, there is a truth in the fact that if you talk to people around the league, for years I've been told, the season starts on Thanksgiving. If you're a really good team, that's when you start to really ramp it up. And, look, I think Denver's a pretty good team. Denver's in a spot where, and I've said this on a bunch of radio hits this week, I've maybe even tweeted it. Denver's on a bye this week, and then they come back and they play the Colts. We're also on a bye this week. Last bye weeks, by the way, this Sunday. If Denver beats the Colts in Week 15, they're pretty much clinching a playoff berth. Like not entirely. Miami'd still be alive, stuff like that. But like they'd be 3 up on the Colts with a breaker. There would be a world where the Chiefs play Denver Week 18, and Denver is playing for nothing. Nothing. I mean, everybody always talks about what the Chiefs are going to be playing for. Denver is going to be sitting there going, what do we care? Take a bye week. And so I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you might actually want Denver to beat the Colts next Sunday because it's going to probably put them in the playoffs.
Yeah. And Kansas City, not much room for error now that they've lost a game to the Buffalo Bills. If you look at Buffalo's schedule, it's hard to see them. They play Detroit. I think in Detroit, that's a tough one. But outside of that one, you could easily see them running the table. And they're good enough to beat the Lions as well. Do you think the Chiefs need to win out to secure this 1 seed? Or can they afford one more loss?
They might, but I would think they can lose once. That'd be my guess. I think the Bills this was a weird week for them, this game. And I felt the same way about when the Chiefs hosted Denver. This is a weird game.
They're playing the Rams, by the way.
They're at SoFi. You just clinched the division. You had a national TV game in the snow at home. Next week, you've got the Lions on the road in a big game, CBS, traveling NFL Today out there for the game. This is one of those weird kind of trap games. The Rams are 6-6. It's not going to be a great atmosphere at SoFi. You got to travel all the way out there. You got a huge game the week after, which, by the way, the Lions are going to have a mini bye going into. The Rams desperately need the game. They're 6-6. They're a game back in the West. And by the way, the Rams, other than a loss to the Eagles this year, have oddly been very, very good against the best teams they've played. They've beaten the Niners. They beat Minnesota. They went to overtime in Detroit. Like they've kind of like they beat Seattle in Seattle. They've oddly risen to the occasion in a lot of these games. I wonder if this is a game where the Bills are kind of caught napping a little bit in this game. It's just they've won 7 in a row, and maybe not. Maybe they go in there and they smash the Rams. I wonder if this is a little bit of a trap game for Buffalo, where Buffalo's just, hey, man, whatever. And on the flip side, by the way, I mentioned if you're a Chiefs fan, maybe you want Denver to beat Indy next week. You want Green Bay to beat Detroit tonight because that is going to make Detroit need that game in the worst way. So, there are some things to start rooting for now. We're getting to the point here where you can kind of see what's coming, and it's starting to crystallize, and I think that's one of those things.
Yeah, look, Buffalo, they've won 7 in a row. And I think, we talked about Jameis Winston being a roulette wheel. This season, I feel like the Rams are the Jameis Winston of teams. They've got serious flaws,
yes,
but they've got a really good coach, a really good quarterback.
Yep.
Puka Nacua is healthy. Cooper Kupp is healthy. Kyron Williams, like that is an offense that if they get it going, and they can't always get it going, but when they get it going, man, it's a shootout. Bills have slowed things down. They like to run the football. They don't have a ton of weapons out there in the receiving core. I think you're absolutely right. This, aside from the Detroit game, I think this one could sneak up on the Bills. They've won 7 in a row. That's really hard to do. The Chiefs are not the only team that is, prone to playing down to some competition, losing focus. It's hard to win every week in the NFL. No matter, the Bills could end up losing. Well, what am I saying? No, they're not going to lose to the Jets, but they could. It's maybe Drake May gets hot. No, probably not. But it can happen.
We
saw the Chiefs
got a better shot than the Jets.
The Chiefs should have lost to the Raiders last week, and we know that they have their own problems. And the Bills are playing better than the Chiefs right now. But we'll see. It's going to be fascinating. All right, we got a great show for you guys today. A lot to get to, and not too much time to get to it. So I'm going to try to get the show on the road here. First, I got to let you know that Underdog is a place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With 5 million happy players and 2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. Compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more players' stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. I got to tell you, this game tonight, I think it's a perfect time to do some higher or lower on Underdog. I think a lot of points are going to be put up in this one. You've got 2 excellent offenses. The Lions have studs everywhere. So I think you'd have a lot of fun with Thursday Night Football. Just download the app today and use our code Arrowhead Addict. That's all one word to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, that's code Arrowhead Addict, all one word to get up to $1,000 bonus cash instantly. Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 and older in Colorado for some games, and 21 and older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York to 467-369. Okay. Verderame, a couple of news items to get to here. Our old pal Eric Bieniemy was fired as the offensive coordinator at UCLA today. His agent put out a statement that was, hey, this was always the plan, was to coach for 1 year and then go back to the NFL. I don't know how true that is, but
it wasn't the plan to get fired.
Yeah, it's not usually the plan.
Feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. EB has had a rough road since he left Kansas City, went to a not great situation in Washington, got dumped there. I think that was just a bad move, but I understand why he did it. If he was able to make that work, then he'd probably be a head coach right now.
Right.
But that was a tall order. And then he goes off to college for a year. So a lot of Chiefs fans are really excited. And I'm going to ask you about this later, so I don't want us to go too deep. But a lot of Chiefs fans are thinking maybe they'll bring EB back for a little extra juice on the coaching staff. Is that something you would support for this stretch run here?
I mean, yeah, but I'd be floored. I would be shocked if that happened. I just don't. What is he going to do? What's his role? He's
Yell
not
at
gonna be a
people.
coordinator. I mean, that'd be great. He should stand next to Juwan Taylor for 3
Just
hours.
scream the whole time.
They should be allowed to like put in for a what would you call it? Put in for some kind of an adjustment where he can just go out on the field with him and just scream at him to get up on the line of scrimmage. No, I mean, look, in theory, yeah, it's great. But like, where's he going? Where is he going to go on this staff? He's not going to be the OC. You know, they have position coaches. I mean, I guess you could just sit there and like create a title, but then I'm sure Nagy's going to be like, well, what the hell? Like, what are we doing? You know, I mean, Nagy probably said the right things publicly, privately, be like, well, now I'm completely undermined.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the players love the enemy, but you know, this is why when he took that job in Washington, I get it 1,000%, right? He took that job because he was sick and tired of having to hear that he was not as big of a part as he was in Kansas City. And then Andy ran the show and Andy called the plays. Oh, look, that's true. Andy does run the show and Andy does call the plays. But I get why the enemy felt, you know, the way he felt. And I'm assuming some of that, but I think it's fair. But when you leave and you take that job, you've got to be good at it. You've got to be good, and you know, you got to succeed. And nobody in the NFL cares about, you know, the stipulations that come with it. Like, did you succeed? Did you not? He failed. He failed badly, and then went to UCLA and failed badly. And I got to tell you, like at this point, he's not getting a head coaching job. That's just not going to happen. Yeah. So now it becomes, can he get a coordinator job? I don't even know outside of Kansas City he can get a coordinator job. Like, you know, he is an acquired taste, personality-wise, and it worked in Kansas City. He was able to coach guys like Mahomes and Kelsey because they're willing to be coached very hard. A lot of guys are not willing to do that. And I don't think it's all on him. I don't think it's always the fairest of situations. Look, I mean, obviously, I'm sitting here. I'm a hockey fan. You know, the Blackhawks just fired Luke Richardson like an hour ago. And I only bring that up because I covered Luke Richardson at my first beat writing job in the American Hockey League when he worked for the Binghamton Senators. He was a first-time head coach. He had played 22 years in the NHL as a defenseman. And I got to know Luke Richardson really well. There is nobody I have ever covered in any sport that I have more personal respect for than Luke Richardson. He got fired in Chicago because they suck. They don't have any talent. They're not good enough. That guy, I firmly believe if Luke Richardson took over a team with talent, that guy could win a Stanley Cup. But there's no talent. Yeah. Well, Eric Bieniemy might, you know, look, maybe you would have been a great head coach. Maybe Spags would have been a great head coach if he didn't take over a Rams team that just had no talent, but he had no talent. And that's unfortunate. I think Brian Daboll could be a good coach with the Giants. They suck. Like, what is he supposed to do with them? And I think that is where an owner should have enough foresight to look at that and go, all right, the problem is guys start to quit. Guys start to look at you and see you as part of the issue because they're not going to look internally. And they're going, well, we're 3-9. We suck, blah, blah, blah. It's hard. Once that thing starts going downhill, it's very hard to turn it around.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's about the job you don't take as opposed to the one that you do. It's got to be the right fit. And not everybody, look, man, you know, credit Harbaugh. He comes into this Chargers team. We're going to preview that game later. I thought that they would win the games they're supposed to win because he's a good coach and they weren't going to make the same kind of knucklehead mistakes they made with Staley. But as good as they've been, I'm astounded at the group of position players that they have. And they got J.K. Dobbins' corpse, Gus Edwards, like a rookie wide receiver in Lab McConkey. They've done a tremendous job. He's done a tremendous job. And not everybody can do that. You know, if you're not the best of the best of the best, and you walk into a situation like that and you can't turn it around, you're right. You're in trouble. All right. So I want to do this thing. You're a Chiefs fan. We've both been covering the NFL for a long time. And I'm reaching like kind of a sanity breaking point with people. And I know I shouldn't allow it to get to me, but have to be on Twitter for work. And like, I can't read or experience any Chiefs content without the very first comment being, well, you know, it's rigged. The refs are rigged. It's rigged. And so I started to call it Chiefs Derangement Syndrome because I think they've got everybody, the people in the NFL have snapped. And it has been kind of hilarious. I mean, I can't tell you as a fan, I was not happy with that Raiders game. But when that fumble happened, dude, I was laughing so hard. not because I was happy because the Chiefs were going to win. I was laughing because it's the Raiders, and that's great. But like, I was just laughing because I was thinking about, oh my God, they did it again. Like, and I can't believe it. And I'm delirious and I'm mad at them. And I just knew that the rest of the NFL world I was like, this just might be it for some of these people. They might start walking into traffic. So I want to do a little thing. I just want to talk about this overall, this insanity that surrounds the Chiefs this year. And I thought a fun way to do it would be to play a little game called Chiefs Derangement Syndrome, Fact, Fiction, or Delusion. And I'm going to throw at you some criticisms of the Chiefs, some conspiracy theories about the Chiefs, and I want you to tell me whether it's a fact, whether it's fiction, or whether it's absolute delusion. I thought that would be a fun way to talk about all this. Are you game?
Yes, I would also say that all this stuff always reminds me of the great Mark Twain quote, which I'm probably going to butcher a little bit, but you get the message. It is better to keep your mouth shut and be thought a fool than open your mouth and prove it.
Yeah. Leave no doubt, I believe, is what he said.
Yes. Correct.
It's amazing. So let's have a little fun with this. By the way, you're listening to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Patrick Allen of Fansided, Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated here, breaking things down for you. If you want to become a part of the Arrowhead Addict community, check out the link in the description. Watch Thursday Night Football with us tonight in the private Discord. Join the Fantasy Football League. All the fun stuff we do in this great Chiefs community. Okay, so we're going to start it off with a favorite of mine. The Chiefs are the worst 11-1 team of all time. I wish Bill Parcells could be on this podcast with us right now. Is that fact, fiction, or delusion?
I mean, like, how many 11-1 teams have ever been? It's not like you're picking out of 100 teams here, right? Like,
right?
Are they the worst 11? No, I mean, listen, I saw the Carolina Panthers start 14-0. Okay. And I never thought that team was good. And I know, like, you could say, how could you say that? And Cam was the MVP. Like, yeah, they're fine. I don't know. They were fine. I saw the Steelers a handful of years ago with the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger do this. Like, I think it's fiction. Like, you want to sit there and say it's not delusion because their point differential's ridiculously low for a team that's 11-1. That's fine. But I think people just do not factor in, like, they're two-time defending champions. Like, it's not like there's some random bullshit team that you're like, who is this? Like, the Browns are 11-1. Like, it's the Kansas City Chiefs with Mahomes and Andy Reid. Like, yeah, I'm not really that worried about them being frauds. Like, I get it. I get it. They're not winning every game by 40 points. They're 11-1. Like, I think it's fiction. I think there have been many, many teams over the years that I could point to that I'd go, yeah, all right, come on. I mean, I watched plenty of teams who had great records, who you knew you're like, that team's not good. There's not a soul on earth who watches football who'd be like, there's no chance the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. And producer Sean, who is an Eagles fan, has reminded us in the private chat that the Eagles were 10-1 last year and they sucked. He said, I don't think they sucked. You don't go 10-1. Even that Steelers team last year, right? Like, or a few years ago when Roethlisberger had a foot in the grave.
The Steelers sucked. That team was ridiculous.
It was Roethlisberger. It was him.
They got boat raced in the wild card. The Browns were like 28-0 in the first quarter. That team sucked. But like the Chiefs, what are we talking about? Like, are the Chiefs good? They're two-time defending champs for a dynasty, and they're 11. People are like, I don't know. Are they going to be able to beat Jacksonville in a playoff game? Like, yeah, I think they got it covered. It'll be all right.
Yeah. I think that, I'm with you. I think it's fiction. They haven't been winning by a lot, but we're going to get to point differential right now, actually. So let's move on to that one. The Chiefs aren't so fact, fiction, or delusion. The Chiefs aren't winning by enough points, which means they're not really good. Fact, fiction, or delusion?
It's fiction. Look, because of the point where you said that means they're not really good. I mean, they're 11-1, and they're coming off of back-to-back Super Bowl championships. I think it's fair to sit there and be critical of them. Like, can they ever win a game by more than a point? Like, can they ever go out and just like win a game 30-10? I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable. I also do think, though, that there is a real thing with them. And look, we could talk about this portion of them too. I think they're bored to death with a lot of these games. I don't think I don't want to say they don't care, because they certainly care. Like, they want to win. They're putting their bodies on the line every week. Like, they care. I think they're very disinterested. I think there's a part of them that it's like they're going to win the division. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to beat these teams most of the time, playing a C game. And I think, the one thing that is true of them, and this, by the way, is true in New England too. New England used to do this all the time. Like, they are everybody's Super Bowl. Everybody that they face, they're getting an A+ effort and an A+ plan and everything thrown at them. They don't care. They don't even care anymore about primetime games. They're just like, yeah, it's fine. It's Monday night in week 8. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Like, they care that they win. They care that they, work on some things. But, like, one thing I don't think they care about, I don't think they care if they win by 20 points. I don't think they care at all. I don't. Where I think for the Lions, it's new and it's fun and they're blowing teams out, and the Bills, they've got everything in the world to prove. What do the Chiefs have to prove? And, like, honestly, as fans, you can sit here and go, well, they got to get the 1 seed. They got to get the 1 seed. I'm here to tell you, I don't even know if they care that much about that. Like, I think they like it in the sense they'd get a bye week. They don't care if they got to go to Buffalo. They don't care. It doesn't matter. Like, they're not intimidated going to play the Bills in Buffalo. I think there's part of them would almost relish it. Like, good, we can go up there and beat them again in front of their own fans again.
Yeah.
Like, they don't. I think they want the 1 in the sense that it would give them a week off. That, I think, matters to them and to every player.
Yeah.
I don't know that they care. Like, if they go to Buffalo in a playoff game, does anyone think they can't win that game? Like, they're sure as hell not going to feel that way. They're going to go up there like, cool, we're going to beat you in front of your own fans. That's how they'll treat it.
Yeah, and I tweeted this last week, actually, before the game. I'm totally on fiction on this, and I know they're not playing their best football right now. But I've been watching this team since Tyreek Hill left, and Mahomes had the MVP season, but pretty much since 2019, even. Like, they don't play. They would always play down to. Do you remember a couple of years ago when they almost lost to a terrible Texans team right around Christmas? You know what was going on there. This is who they are. I wrote this on Twitter last week. I said last year, from November 16th to December 31st, the Ravens outscored their opponents 203 to 106. They had won 6 straight games. They moved to 13-3 and secured the number 1 seed. Over that same period, the Chiefs outscored their opponents 150 to 39. That's a +11 margin, and went 3-4. Blowing teams out in the regular season means nothing. Just ask the Ravens. The Chiefs last year were worse than they are now on Christmas. They played one of the worst football games I've ever seen. Then they played one more game with their starters, and then they threw in the backups the last week of season, week 18, and then they had nobody who could catch the ball, and they won the Super Bowl. So it's like, are they playing good football right now? No. Am I concerned that they keep almost losing to terrible football teams? Yes. Do I think that they can't go on a run to the Super Bowl? No, absolutely they can't.
I promise you, like, they don't care how much they win these games by. They don't care. They don't.
Yeah.
If they did, they would win by more. And by the way, this wasn't even just a last year thing. Like, certainly last year was the best example of it. They went 14-3 in 2022. 14-3, had a great playoff run with Mahomes on one ankle. They're them down the stretch. So they were 5-2 going into the bye. And out of the bye, their record was 9-1. And to the year, you go, oh my God, they were amazing. No, they were not. They had to beat Malik Willis at home on a Sunday night in overtime because they could not do anything. Then they beat Jacksonville convincingly. Okay. Then they beat a Chargers team that was fine, was a decent team, but when they played them was 5-4. They beat them 30-27. They beat a Rams team that had nobody. Would you like to guess who the quarterback was of the Rams that game?
No, actually.
Bryce Perkins.
Oof.
Okay. The Chiefs were just bumbling their way through. Like, now, look, they won 26-10, but like it was at one point 20-10 with 7 minutes left. Like, not exactly a dominating showing. Like very much like, okay, fine. Then they lost to the Bengals. Then they won that game in Denver that we were in Kansas City for. We did the show for. We were up 27-0 and almost lost. And then followed that up by beating Davis Mills in overtime. Like, they were not destroying teams. They were not. And then after that, they beat Seattle 24-10, good win. And then had a game against Denver at home that they needed to hold on for dear life. They needed a defensive pass interference call to kind of bail them out. It's not as though, like, they were better that year. I'm not saying they weren't better in 2022. They were better. They had a lot of games that year. Barely beat Malik Willis. Barely beat Davis Mills. That was the year they lost that Colts game, which still defies all logic. They almost lost twice to a Denver team that was atrocious. They almost lost both those games. I just think sometimes people get so accustomed to, like, well, they should just ball them out. And yes, but they should be beating the Raiders and the Panthers by more than they're beating them by. I'm not exonerating the Chiefs, but I'm just simply stating, as a team, they wouldn't say it publicly. They don't care. They just want to win these games and keep it moving and learn some things about themselves. And if they do that, they're good. Like, it doesn't matter to them if they win by 20 or 2. They just want to win.
Yeah, it's just such a BS narrative. I mean, my God, remember what they did to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020? The final score of the game was close, but that game was over by the end of the first quarter. And fat lot of good that did them when they got to the Super Bowl. You think the Buffalo Bills, if the Chiefs knock them out of the playoffs this year, they're going to be standing up there at the podium and be like, yeah, we won a lot of games this season, and we lost this one, but did you see how the Chiefs played the Panthers? Like, nobody's going to care.
Nobody's going to care. And that's just it. Like, not to get up, but like, nobody is going to give a shit if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, how many points they beat the Panthers by in a week. Like, look, I'm not saying they don't have to clean stuff up. They clearly do. I'm not saying they don't have to play better. They clearly do if they want to win the Super Bowl. What I am saying, though, is I don't think it's a coincidence either, though. When they went and played the Niners, when the Niners were relatively healthy, they killed the Niners. They blew them out of their own building. You know, when they went and played Buffalo, they lost the game. They were right there the whole game. You know, if the Chiefs were some fraud, they wouldn't have been down 2 with 2 minutes left in Buffalo, missing a million guys, and both teams were hurt. But, like, this idea, the Chiefs beat Baltimore, that is the one thing I will say. That is where I do say the delusion. Like, I covered the game. The Chiefs beat the Ravens and really beat them up pretty good in that game. The Ravens, give them credit, they came back at the end, made it very interesting. And people for weeks and months after that were like, I think the Ravens are better. Based on what? Like, sure as hell wasn't that game. Like, what basis do you have? The Ravens have done nothing ever of any import under Lamar Jackson's tutelage for how many years now? And we're going to sit here and listen to this. And then now it's like, well, are the Bills better? Are the Bills better? Again, based on what? Did they beat them in a regular season game? Has no one ever learned, ever? Like, they don't care. It doesn't matter. I shouldn't say they don't care. They are not bothered by it. Like, sure, they would have loved to have won the game, but, like, they're fine. They're not freaking out about it. I just think sometimes we have to take a page from history, and their history is when they get to the playoffs, they're a completely different football team. And they're going to be, I mean, they're in the playoffs. They've clinched that. If they win Sunday, they clinch the division. I don't know. I color me very unconcerned about them.
Yeah, the Ravens argument that is just still driving me absolutely out of my mind is people like, well, if Isaiah Likely's toe, he didn't catch the fucking ball. He didn't catch it. It wasn't a catch. It doesn't matter. They act like it's some fault of the Chiefs that Isaiah Likely wasn't able to get in bounds. Like, that's a knock on the Chiefs. The team that makes the most plays wins the game. That's how it works. You can't what if this stuff. It's insane.
It's just too, like, you could sit here and be like, well, you know, if the Chiefs had all their offensive linemen, Super Bowl 55, they would have won. Yep, they didn't. Right, that's the point. Yeah. You know, and I will say this, like, Chiefs fans, just like any other fan base, you get your real diehards and your people who really understand it, and you get your casuals and everything else, and that's fine. Like, that's what makes a fan base. The one thing I will say about Chiefs fans, I've always respected, when they lost that AFC title game to the Bengals, you didn't hear anybody after that game blaming an official or blame. Yep. It was like, look, they played like crap. They lost. That's it. They lost. Like, I've never had a Chiefs fan come up to me and go, that game really got, if this play doesn't happen or if that play doesn't, yeah, no kidding. And if I won Powerball, I'd be retired. But I didn't, and I'm not. Like, they lost. They didn't play well enough. That's the point. That's football. That's the way it goes. I could also sit there and do that all day long for every game they played this year and go, well, if they were better in the red zone, they would have beaten all these teams by 30 points. Well, they weren't. Or if they had a better turnover differential, they'd be, yeah, but they don't. Like, Isaiah Likely was out of bounds. I don't care if it was by a toenail or his whole damn foot. He's out of bounds. The best one to me, though, is the Bengals one. Well, if they didn't call defensive pass interference, he mugged them. He blew to his back. Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's a penalty. And if he doesn't commit the penalty, he's going to catch it. They're in field goal range. Like, it's just some of this stuff is nuts. And it dates back to last year when they beat the Jets and people are like, well, that penalty on Sauce Gardner. I'm like, yeah, where he grabbed MVS by his shoulder pads and threw him. Yeah, it's a penalty. Sorry. Like, I do think that is where people have lost their minds. It's true.
Yeah, there's a lot of delusion. We're going to get some. Probably not in this one, though. Travis Kelce is washed. Fact, fiction, or delusion?
I think it depends on your definition of washed. If you're talking about is he the same guy he had been in previous years, and yeah, he's washed up. Is he still one of the best tight ends in the league? Yeah. So I would say it's fiction. Again, I'll go for the hat trick here. I mean, look, obviously he's not the guy he used to be. He's also 35 years old. I mean, I don't think that's, really a shocker. There are 4 tight ends with more yards than him. Brock Bowers, who's 4th in the entire NFL, is having a ridiculous year. Trey McBride, young player, having a great year. George Kittle, who's, by the way, ahead of him by 12 yards. Okay. And Jonnu Smith, who's ahead of him by 11 yards. I mean, there's a real world here where Kelce ends up being 3rd in yardage for tight ends. People act like he's just completely cooked. Again, is he what he was? No, hell no. But he's the greatest tight end to ever live. Like, it's a pretty high standard. Like, he might get to 1,000 yards. He probably won't, but he might. He's still a very good player, but he's not who he once was.
And we'll see what he does in the playoffs. Travis Kelce, last year, second half of the season, struggled quite a bit. Looked a lot like he does right now, actually, second half of the season last year. And then just ask their playoff opponents how that worked out for them.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Fact, fiction, or delusion? Matt Nagy is the reason the Chiefs' offense is struggling.
I've long defended Nagy because I always just feel like he doesn't have nearly as much influence as people think. I'm actually going to go kind of the fact here.
Wow.
I think there's shades of gray in this, like most things. Look, I mean, the biggest reason their offense is struggling is their left tackle is playing like me. Okay, I mean that's the biggest reason. But I think Nagy has a hand in this regard. That offense does miss some of that EB, like, I'm going to kick you in the ass fire. How many times is Juwan Taylor going to line up offside before Matt Nagy just lays into him on the sideline? How many times? How many times does he have to be illegally lined up? I shouldn't say offsides, but illegally lined up. How many times? I mean, is he blind? Can he look to his left and see if he's breaking Creed Humphrey's belt buckle? Like, how blind are you? And I feel like that would have happened maybe twice with Eric Bieniemy, and that would have been the end of that. And with Nagy, it's a little bit of this buddy, like, it's okay, it's all right. Like, it's not all right. It's dumb and it sucks. Stop doing it. Like, it's not okay. I do feel like they are passive sometimes on offense. There is not as much accountability. It's a little bit like, all right. You know, I mean, Kelce is a leader. Mahomes is a leader. But they don't have that coach on the sideline who holds them accountable in the way that I think Merritt holds his guys accountable and Spags holds his guys accountable. There's a little bit of like laissez-faire with that team on offense where it's like, okay. And I felt like that last year. They're dropping 1 million passes. And there was no like, hey, come on, catch the ball. That's your job. Catch it. I feel like there's a little bit of that with Nagy where it's like, I mean, hey, John, like, if you'd like to line up legally, that'd be cool and stuff. But like, if not, dude, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Where like Eric Bieniemy, I feel like would fight him at the 50-yard line after the second. I feel like Eric Bieniemy would go out there physically go after Juwan Taylor, who, by the way, was limited in practice today. So heads up on that.
Yeah, I'm going to put some of this on Mahomes as well, because Mahomes he's a fantastic leader. And one thing he's just not really wired this way. I don't think he doesn't show up his own teammates, but he does get frustrated. And I think as the leader of the offense, it's okay sometimes for him to call a guy out and be like, you got to do better. Right. He was pissed off. He's pissed off about Juwan Taylor. You can clearly see he was pissed off about Wanya Morris. And I do think that that's a situation where if you're Mahomes, maybe you don't need to show him up on the field, but like you would see clips of Brady doing it to guys over on the sideline. Hey, get your head out of your ass. Juwan, look over at the ref and see if you're lined up right. Like, look over, look at your right to the ref. Look at your left at Creed. Like, you get paid millions of dollars. I remember there were a lot of people a few people on Chiefs Twitter last year when he was getting all those flags. And I was like, this guy he needs to line up right. And people were defending him because they were like, it's unfair how much they're calling it on Juwan Taylor when other people are doing it. And you and I said on this podcast, and I said, I don't give a shit if everybody else is doing it and they're not getting flags. Yeah. It's getting flag. If he's getting picked on, he's getting picked on. All he has to do is stand in the right spot.
Right. I wrote a whole piece about this for Sports Illustrated after week 2 last year. And I had a million Chiefs fans light my ass up on Twitter and be like, how could you say he's not being targeted? I'm like, I'm not saying they're not watching him closely, but how dumb are you to just keep doing it?
Right.
I mean, you deserve it. You're playing like a dope. Get on the line of scrimmage. Yeah. It's just insane. And for him, what does he have? 3 of them the last 2 weeks now?
It's bad.
What are you doing? Get on the line. I mean, this is not rocket science. You've been an NFL right tackle now for, all kidding aside, 6 years, I think it is now. Like, are you blind? Look to your left and get up there. But see, this is the one issue I do have with them sometimes. And look, they've won Super Bowl, so if you want to dismiss it, fine. There would be nothing wrong, in my opinion, with when he gets called for that the next time. There will be a next time. Mahomes grabs him by the face mask and just lights into him on the field. Embarrass him in front of the whole crowd. I don't care. Humiliate him. It's ridiculous. $20 million a year. You don't know how to look to your left and make sure you're lined up correctly. I mean, how many times, to be fair to Wanya Morris, how many times has Wanya Morris been called for that? 0. It doesn't happen. And I'm telling you, there is a real world shot that costs them a season at some point. Some huge play comes back because Juwan Taylor has no idea what he's doing. And that happens because he's not held accountable. He's not. I mean, there's a world for me, honestly. The next time he does it, they should yank him for a series. Right in the middle of the series, yank him out. Make him walk off the field in front of 80,000 people in the stadium. Do something about it. But they have this thing about you got to just support him. No, you don't. It's ridiculous. I am all for, hey, look, guy makes physical mistake. It happens. That's football. That's sports. It happens, right? DeAndre Hopkins had a drop on Friday that was shocking. He's a Hall of Famer. It happens.
Yeah.
It should never happen that you're lined up incorrectly, ever. I don't care what position you play. That is your only job pre-snap as an offensive player, to line up correctly. It's ridiculous not to know how to do it.
And these guys are different, right? But if Bill Belichick and Andy Reid, I'll tell you, man, if Bill Belichick was a coach, he'd put a road cone out there. He'd walk out on the field. He would have sat him. He doesn't care. And the only problem is the Chiefs have a road cone at left tackle, so they really can't afford one. They'd have to put they have to put the backups in, right? I almost said Henny because put Wentz in. Screw it. All right. Got a few more to get to here. The NFL, fact, fiction, or delusion. The NFL has the refs rigging games for the Chiefs because they want Taylor Swift to be at the Super Bowl so they can make more money.
I can't believe I have to say this, but anything that involves the word rigging is just insanity. Yeah. It's a delusion. It's insane. I can't. People don't understand that if the NFL rigged the game and it was uncovered, everyone's going to jail. Right. It is defrauding. The amount of charges that would be brought on them. And why, if you're the NFL, first of all, good luck rigging an NFL football game. Okay. Good luck with that. hey, listen, I want you to catch this pass, but not this pass. I want this pass to be perfect, but this one be a little high. This isn't wrestling, okay? Where guys are like holding on to each other in the middle of the ring and they're like, all right, do this, now do that. This is not that. Anyone who thinks the NFL is rigged is bunkers. It's absolutely Looney Tunes, out of their minds, bunkers. There's no world where that's reality. Also, if the NFL is rigged, you think the Giants and the Jets might be a little bit better?
Yeah,
Like,
you think, or why didn't they rig the Bills game? If they're trying to help the Chiefs, why didn't they rig the Bills game? I don't understand.
Like, they're playing the long game. Like, what? I mean, it's just, the whole thing's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm sure that they've been rigging the NFL for the last 30 years. The Cowboys have sucked forever. The Jets and the Giants have been completely irrelevant for the better part of the last 15 years. But the teams that have great quarterbacks are in Buffalo, Kansas City, and Green Bay. I'm sure that really a genius marketing. And by the way, if you're a Chiefs fan, next person to it's rigged. It's like, great. Hope it is. Hope to win the next 15 in a row. It's great. I hope it is rigged. Then I don't have to worry about the outcome. That is now kind of my default response to all this stuff.
All right, here's one more for you. This is a real thing. The guy tweeted at me. The NFL is rigging games for the Chiefs because Lamar Hunt helped Roger Goodell get his job.
Okay, great.
That's a deep cut.
Really, that's a deep cut.
Yeah. How long has Lamar been dead for?
I mean, so Goodell took office September 1st of 2006. I believe Lamar Hunt died that year. Yes, he died December 13th of that year. So apparently Lamar's last real big thing that he did in his life was to make Goodell commissioner. And then, by the way, the Chiefs sucked ungodly for the next how many years?
Yep.
Really waiting to make sure that nobody was going to uncover the plot there. Hold on, we got to wait for 8 years and then get an Andy Reid. I mean, people are just, oh my God. People really in life, the older I get, the more I think people need to take a walk. Go get some air or something. Anything. Go
play some pickleball.
Oh yeah, anything. I mean, I'll tell you what, man. Pickleball is great. I wish I've been playing pickleball. My back the last 2 months, I'm shot. In fact, right after this, I'm going to a chiropractor to get jumped on, which is going to be interesting.
You have to let me know how that goes because my back's been bothering me too.
Third time this week going to the chiropractor. It's getting better though. Have you ever been to a chiropractor? I
haven't. I'm scared because I have back issues. I'm afraid they're going to make it worse.
Okay, right. Same. Right now, your back over the years is worse than mine. But I don't know what the hell I did to my back. I still don't know how I did it, what I did. But my lower back's been screwed for 2 months. So in any event, I got so fed up with it. This week, Monday, I was like, fine, I'm done with this. I'm going to a chiropractor. I'm just the last ditch effort because the insurance companies in America, it takes 8 years to get an image done on your back. So I'll never know. Yeah. So I go to this chiropractor. The guy gets me in immediately. I'm like, all right. My in-laws go there. I've never been to a chiropractor either. I get some x-rays taken. The guy's looking at him. He's like, well, part of your problem is you have 4 vertebrae out of alignment. Okay, it's great. So he's like, most people have a curvature in your neck. You don't. I'm like, all right. So I'll fix it. Great. Lay down on this table that it starts like this and then kind of levels out. And I am completely oblivious to how this works. I'm thinking he's going to give me a real, almost not like a massage, but a deep, kind of work with his hands. Guy literally jumps on my back, knees first, just jumps as hard as he can right into my lumbar, the lower spine. And I hear this crack. I'm like, oh my God, this guy just broke my back or my hips or whatever.
It's over.
Right? Does that 3 more times, then cracks the hell out of my neck. I got to tell you, first hour, I was like, I don't feel any different. Felt much better. Second day, go back in, do it again. Same deal. First hour, woke up much better. Last night, first time I have had a full range of motion in 2 months. Now, granted, I still have some lower back soreness, still crampy, still achy, but I have full range of motion. So I'm going back today. I got to go 3 times next week too. Guy's just going to jump on me, basically, is what's happening. But, so far, so good. Angry Drunken German. Thank God I did not walk into that. But, I got to give it to this guy. Like, it was actually funny. I walked in, and, he's going over my chart, and you got to write your occupation, who you work for. So I filled it out. He's like, "You work for Sports Illustrated?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "You write in the magazine?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Actually, the magazine you have out front, I got my first features in it." So it was funny. It was like a year old, but he still had it out there. He's like, "Oh, no way!" As he's doing this, by the way, he's just jumping on me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it is a full contact sport going to the chiropractor, but I'd recommend it as long as the guy's good.
Yeah, maybe I'll go see your guy. It might be worth the drive.
37 years of experience, guy's getting it done.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's get into this game. 11-1 Chiefs on Sunday Night Football at Arrowhead, taking on the 8-4, somewhat of a surprise, Chargers. Chiefs are -4 in this one. I feel like it opened at around 3 and it's moved. Yep. Yeah, I think that might have to do with the uncertainty of whether or not some guys are going to play. It's a 43 over/under. Injury report: Chargers a little banged up. Vlad McConkey has been limited in practice. He's dealing with something. Bud Dupree's got a heel. He's limited. Khalil Mack was DNP for rest, and now he's a full participant. What do you make of this game? I mean, it's weird too because this is a team if the Chiefs could play these guys it looks like Denver and the Chargers are going to make the playoffs. So,
yes.
But this is a different Chargers team than the one the Chiefs only beat by a touchdown earlier this year.
Honest to God, I have no idea. This is going to be the worst preview I ever do for this show. I have no idea. Nothing would surprise me in this game. I guess I should say I would be surprised if the Chargers blew the Chiefs out, just simply because they don't have a big, high-powered offense, and the Chiefs never get blown out. So I'd be surprised if that happened. I can see the Chargers win the game. I can see Herbert throwing for 300 yards the way they've been playing on defense, and it's one of those things where Quentin Johnston has a Hello to America game. I don't know what's going on with McConkey. I think he's going to play, but is he healthy? He's got a lot going on. I don't know. I could see the Chargers winning 23-20. I could also see a game where the Chiefs beat them, but a similar score. 23-20, 2017, low scoring, blah, 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 blah. There's also a world where Humphreys plays and they're really good at left tackle all of a sudden, and they score 34 points, and they win 34-16. And I wouldn't be surprised. And we come out of that game and everybody's like, "Oh my God, they're back!" They have so many outcomes that are possible in this game. God only knows. I think they're going to win, but I mean, they got to play better than they played the last couple of weeks. That's for damn sure.
It's scary to me because they're going to have Mack and Bosa, and it's just a different ball game with those guys on the field and the way the Chiefs have been playing offensively. Let's talk about Humphreys. I mean, do you think he's going to play? And two, is he the answer? Does he have to be to really drastically change things for the Chiefs, the way things have been going? Does he have to be league average, slightly below league average? Does he have to be better than that?
He has to just do what Donovan Smith did a year ago. He has to just be league average. Just be fine. One thing I will say, and I've said this everywhere I've been, I'll say it on my own pod later, I'm sure. If they get good left tackle play, I really honestly think this offense is going to explode. I do. Hopkins, you got Brown coming back. You got Worthy starting to really step up. You got Kelsey and Gray. You've got the two backs. I mean, man, I think Mahomes has played great lately. I mean, I think in his last 6 games, 13 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's played great. And a couple of those picks weren't even on him. I think they are ready to explode offensively. The problem is they can't block anybody on the blind side. If Humphreys is just fine, I think they can really take off.
So here's my worry, and I read this in Bill Barnwell's article about the wild card teams fighting for the wild card today on ESPN. You should always read Bill Barnwell. You'll be a smarter football fan if you do. Here's what he pulled about these guys. When Bosa and Mack were on the field together for more than 16 snaps, the Chargers have allowed a stifling 19.4 QBR when both have been present this season. So this is a game.
Bosa and Mack are out there together?
Yeah. He said, because he talked about how, Bosa was injured for the first half of the season, And then and he's only played 31.5% of the defensive snaps. And then Khalil Max, the other top rusher, he went down just as Bosa began to ramp up and missed the better part of 2.5 games. After week one's, he talks about after Sunday's win over the Falcons, it was just the second time all season that Bosa and Mack were on the field together for more than 16 snaps, and they've allowed a 19.4 QBR when they're both there.
All right. With due respect to Bill Barnwell, I think there's a reason for that to some extent. Okay. So here are the teams that they have played. I'm going to try to do this while I'm like going back and forth between tabs. Here are the teams they've played while they've been on the field together. The Raiders week 1, the Raiders are terrible. The Panthers week 2, and Bryce Young looked like me playing football. Also terrible. The Steelers with Justin Fields, who were terrible offensively. Then they didn't play another game together until they played the Saints, who started, I believe it was it Jake Hayner in that game? Was it, who played in that game? I'm going to look at it.
Was that Ritter?
Spencer Rattler.
Rattler.
So far they've seen the Raiders. So they've seen Gardner Minshew together, Bryce Young together when he was atrocious. He got benched after that game. Justin Fields together, Spencer Rattler together. They saw Jameis Winston together, Will Levis, and then they saw Lamar Jackson, who roasted the crap out of them, and then 4 interceptions worth of Kirk Cousins. So it's like, yeah, like that's fine. You couldn't find an easier lineup of guys to face than those guys, except for Lamar, who scored 30 points and they absolutely killed him.
I will counter that. Bill has a counter for you, Verderame.
Okay, well,
he says even without those guys for stretches, the Chargers defense has allowed 1.42 points per drive this season and has stopped opposing teams from scoring on 72.5 of their possessions. Both marks lead the NFL. So even with those guys banged up, they've been good. Now, they have had an easier schedule.
I mean, I get it. And I'm not down. The Chargers are good defensively. Second on third down, the third in the red zone. By the way, I think that's where this game's won and lost, how the Chiefs are in those spots offensively. I mean, the Raiders, the Panthers, the Steelers, who they lost to. They lost to the Chiefs. They come out. They play Bo Nix and the Broncos, who were terrible at the time. At least Bo Nix was early in the year. They lose to the Cardinals. Then they beat up on this real powerhouse trio of Spencer Rattler, Jameis Winston, and Will Levis. Okay. 2 of those games were at home, by the way. And then they beat the Bengals, but gave up 27 points doing it, and Burrow threw all over the field. And then they got beat by the Ravens, who scored 30 points. Like, the best quarterback they've actually beaten this year and held down to any degree, because Burrow went nuts, even though they lost the game. The only quarterback they have beaten, or the best quarterback they've beaten, I would say, is probably Cousins. Probably last week, and Cousins was all, he threw 4 picks. Like, give the Chargers credit. If the Chargers win this game this weekend, it is by a mile the best game they've won all year long. Like, because to this point, it's Cincinnati, who's very talented. Like, I'm not going to take that away from offensively, but also like finding every way imaginable to lose. If the Chargers win this game, it is easily their best win in years. So maybe they do it, but I have my doubts.
Yeah, and look, I mean, last week, Herbert threw for 147 yards. J.K. Dobbins is hurt. That Gus Edwards rushed for 32.
Their offense was awful.
Yeah, I mean, McConkey had 117 of those 147 passing yards last week. So the Chiefs should be able to, as bad as their defense, but then again, you could have made the argument that the Chiefs shouldn't have made Aiden O'Connell look like Joe Montana last week. Fair. But there you go. What's going on with this defense, man? I know we got to get out of here in a couple minutes, but just can this defense, can they fix it?
I think so, but I think, look, it's Amena who I think is going to really help this pass rush. I think he actually did already on Friday. They had 3 sacks. Jones had 2. He also drew a holding call. So it wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better. I think Joshua Williams is the key to this, man. Like, they need to play well. He doesn't have to be great. He's kind of got to be their version of like DJ Humphries on defense. Just be solid. I think if they get that, like, I'm not taking anything away. Like, the Raiders torched the Chiefs, and the Chiefs didn't play well defensively, and all those things are true. But I think those can be some of the answers for this team. Now, are they all the answers? We got to find out, wait and see here. But I think it could be some of the answers. I also think Jaden Hicks has been playing more and more and more and more lately. That is also an answer. Play him more. Get him on the field in third down packages and get a linebacker off the field. That would help.
And I'll say that the Chiefs didn't do their defense any favors last week because Andy Reid, I think one of the reasons they're in the position they are in this year is because he's been so great. For whatever reason, lost his damn mind last week, was actually standing on the sidelines watching Wanya Morris be a turnstile. And he's like, you know what we should do? Let's throw the ball 46 times in this game. Like, what are you doing? I don't care. I don't care if they take all their cornerbacks off the field and just play with defensive linemen. Run the ball.
Last thought I have on that game, the Chiefs on their first 28 plays in the second half ran the ball 3 times. And one of those went for 34 yards. And the Chiefs are like, we're good.
Yeah, it was insane. It was insane. All right, let's get to our final score predictions for this one. How do you see it playing out, Verderame?
I think it's a tight game. I think it's a tight, close, low-scoring game. Give me 23-19 Kansas City. I think the Chiefs win. If Humphries plays well, I could see the Chiefs actually doing really well in this game. But I'll be conservative. I'll say 23-19. They win. It's another one of those games that has everybody nervous and panicked, but I think they win.
I was not picking against them because they hadn't lost since Christmas. But since they've lost the Bills game, I haven't picked against them because they were playing the Panthers and the Raiders. I'm going to pick against them this week, something that I rarely do. And often when I do, I'm wrong. So hopefully it's a little magic for them. They're playing like crap. And maybe Humphries gets in there and stabilizes things. And if he does, I think they can win this game. But I think this is their rock bottom game.
It might be.
I think this is their Christmas Day game against the Raiders where they really get a nice wake-up call. The Chargers are red hot right now. They're winning a lot of games. They're playing good defense. Herbert's been playing better. They're generally healthy. Derwin James is really making an impact on the run game for them. He's playing very well. I got it Chargers 31, Chiefs 20. I think the defense isn't playing well. Listen, man,
be a 5-alarm fire, man. If that happens,
there is, and maybe there needs to be.
Maybe it does.
Maybe they need to get their asses kicked by a division rival, a team they should beat, until they finally make the changes that they need to make. But like going out there and throwing the ball 46 times and doing stupid crap like that, or Travis Kelce freelancing on routes when if he just ran the route, Mahomes doesn't have time. He doesn't have time for Travis Kelce to freelance. So they're doing stuff that just doesn't make sense. And this is a well-coached team with a good quarterback. This ain't Aiden O'Connell. It's not Bryce Young. It's not the Panthers or the Raiders. So if they play like they have the last 2 weeks, we should expect Chargers 31, Chiefs 20. Maybe less, fewer points for the Chiefs. If they come out and they play up to the level of their opponent, it'll be another game like you mentioned where it comes down to one possession and they could win. And then if Humphries plays really well, maybe they snap out of it. Hope I'm wrong, but you guys can come roast me on the post-game show for picking against them. I know Slothy's going to be all over me. He's going to hold me accountable for the rest of the season for this prediction.
Oh, good luck with it.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. All right, we got to let Verderame get to the chiropractor, so we're going to get out of here. No Patty's Power Rankings this week, and that's a shame because we were going to rank pies, but we'll do it another time. Thank you to producer Sean for getting us up and running today. Shout out to all of our members. We will be here on Sunday night for our pregame show, halftime show, and Chiefs postgame show, win or lose. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.